This is Friday Night Football on KLST, brought to you by Randall Motors.
Good evening and welcome into Friday Night Football. Week 3 is in the books. I'm Brian Cunningham. The next 15 minutes, a recap from all over the Concho Valley, and we're going to start with our biggest Concho Valley school, the Bobcats this week, who traveled to a friendly foe, Abilene Cooper. The Bobcats enter this game 0-2, looking to add to that win column tonight. First quarter, CHS down 7-0. Squeaky does it himself. The 23-yard quarterback keeper gets Central on the board. Cooper trying a long field goal attempt here, and it's blocked. Jimmy Norton with the huge play for the Bobcats to keep it tied at 7. Central takes advantage of it. Squeaky finds a wide-open Christian Mora. Nothing but green grass is 6 points for him. 15-7 Central, and last minute of the half, Ewing takes the handoff for Cooper. He fumbles. The Bobcats recover in Cougar territory. The final score is Central, which gets its first win of the season. We now take you to our second biggest Concho Valley team here, the Lakeview Chiefs. The Chiefs enter this game 0-2 and look to turn the tide on their season so far. The Chiefs kick off week 3 hosting the Lamesa Tornadoes. Starting in the first quarter, Lakeview jumping right out in front, out of the gate. Quick 21-0 lead, punctuated by this touchdown by Wyatt Henry. Lakeview crowd loving what they're seeing, but Lamesa didn't go down without a fight. Quarterback Daniel Ramos finds McCurley, who turns on the speed for the touchdown. Deficit to 14, but Lakeview once again responds. Daniel Munoz hauling in the beautiful throw for the score. This one becoming a back-and-forth affair. Lamesa finds the end zone again. This time it's D.V. Lugo who punches it across. Lakeview makes a statement at home, emerging victorious by a score of 55-14. Grape Creek played host this weekend to the Bangs Dragons, and we're still looking for their first win of the season. District opponents, or what these two former opponents are, taking 9 of the 10 meetings was the Dragons, but it was Grape Creek who walks away with the win 38-27. The TLCA Eagles hosted the Ballinger Bearcats tonight. TLCA enters this game 0-2 and having met Ballinger every year the past 7 seasons. After 2 huge losses to open their season, TLCA looks to turn the tide of their season, and unfortunately they will start this season 0-3. A pair of Concho Valley teams met in this anticipated matchup. The Brady Bulldogs traveled to Ozona for this matchup that hasn't happened since 2021. Ozona is averaging over 40 points a game through 2 weeks, and in a shootout, it's the Bulldogs who walk away from this one 47-45. We now transition to another big matchup tonight. The Wall Hawks hosted Jim Ned, a former matchup of former district opponents. Wall enters this game 1-1 on the season. Jim Ned holds 3 of the last 4 wins against the Hawks midway through this first quarter in 1. Wall strikes first. Quarterback Landon York throws a dart to Oliver, who makes the leaping snag 2 feet in. Hawks up 8. Same score still in the opening quarter. Lane Stansberry able to drill this one through from 28 out. Wall extends the lead to 11-0 after the opening play of 12. Second quarter, Hawks back to the air again. York looking downfield for someone. Scrambles out of the pocket, finds Reed Robertson and let him do the rest. He makes a couple. Indians miss 17-0 towards the end of the half. Jim Ned looking to find points. The quarterback scrambling around, heaves it into the end zone. Instead, they find Evan Bailey with the interception. A tale of 2 halves in this one, but Wall scores with under 10 seconds left, gets the 2-point conversion and the win, 25-24. Our Sean Torres is live from Clayton Wyshun Field with a recap.
How's it going, everyone? This is Sean Torres with KLST Sports, and we are live at Clayton Wyshun Field today, and we had an amazing game. The Wall Hawks hosted the Jim Ned Indians, and the final score was 25-24 in a nail-biter game. Today, we had a game of ups and downs. It was a roller coaster ride. Jim Ned Indians came out, and they started off very slow. They scored 0 points in the first and second quarter, but they had 24 points, unanswered points, in the second half. In the first quarter, we had the Wall Hawks come out and they scored 11 points. They had a touchdown with a 2-point conversion, and they also had a field goal off a bad punt. It left them in the red zone, so it was easy for them to score. And like I said, at halftime it was 17-0. They only scored a touchdown in the second quarter. And in the second half, it was basically Jim Ned, and a little bit more of Jim Ned until the very minute and a half that you had Wall Hawks. They they had 24 unanswered points. So what they do, they went and threw a 50-yard touchdown, not a touchdown, but on the 1-yard line, handed it off for the touchdown. And they were down 1 point. What they do, they threw a short little out route into the end zone for the 2-point conversion, where they won by 1 point. This has been Sean Torres. Thank you very much. Back to y'all.
This live shot is sponsored by AFCO Steel.
When we come back, we continue our coverage of high school football across the Concho Valley. Class 2A is up next when we return with some notable matchups of Concho Valley teams facing off against one another. Don't go anywhere. This is Friday Night Football.
This is Friday Night Football on KLST, brought to you by Randall Motors.
We take you back into the action as 2A continues with a couple more Concho Valley teams facing off. El Dorado traveled to Sonora tonight. The Broncos, they've won 11 of the last 12 matchups against the Eagles. Eagles enter this game 1-1 on the season. The Broncos looking for that first win. Opening drive, El Dorado with a nice run to the outside, breaking some tackles, but the drive would eventually stall out. But still in the first quarter, Bulldogs are going to hit a screen pass on this drive to Dylan Ford, and Dylan's going to give a little lesson on effort this play. A cutback inside, 2 more broken tackles, dragging another defender along. And that very next play, Aaron Segura is going to drop back and find Cam Aguero, 4-6, and the lead as the first winds down. The Broncos would go up 7 at half and would walk away with the 41-7 victory in Week 3. The Cristobal Cougars traveled to McCamey tonight to take on the Badgers. This battle of former district opponents sees both teams entering this game looking for their first win of the season, and the Cristobal Cougars are going to fall just short to 0-3 on the season, falling 15-19. The well-loved Puncher Dome saw a good matchup in Mason tonight as the Coleman Blue Cats came to town, with the Punchers leading this overall series 7-3-1, splitting the 2 meetings. The last 2 meetings, and the Blue Cats are looking for their first win of the season. Mason looking to prevent that, and does. Mason walks away with a big win tonight, 53-6. The Winters Blizzards came to town a little early to take on the Sterling City Eagles, a matchup of former district opponents who split this 2-game series with 1 win apiece. Both teams entered this game 1-1 on the season as well, and it would be the Eagles with the shutout win, 45-0. The Miles Bulldogs hosted Johnson City Eagles in this first ever matchup between these 2 teams. Both teams at best entered this week 2-0 on the season. The Bulldogs look to keep rolling after a 55-20 win last week against Cristobal. The Bulldogs offense had an outstanding game as QB Liam Yancey went for 321 and 6 tuds through the air, while their running back Tevin Mead rushed for almost 200 on the ground. The talent around Yancey and the upperclassmen's leadership is what the Bulldogs lean on this season as it unfolds. Bulldogs 2-0, Johnson City 2-0. One of the battles of the unbeaten teams takes place tonight. Straight into the action, shotgun handoff to Tevin Mead for the quick score. Remember the name, Tevin Mead. Bulldogs up 6 after the PAT. The following drive after an Eagles fumble, Tevin once again on the outside for the score. Bulldogs up 13-0 later in the second quarter. If you thought, where's Cooper Ellison been this game? Well, just wait a minute as the Bulldogs connect on a huge touchdown here. Yancey, Cooper, full length of the field. Bulldogs go up 20 in the first half, and they're not done yet. Second quarter winding down. Tevin Mead, I told you, remember that name. Another outside handoff for the touchdown. The stud running back with his third of the half, outrunning some Eagles. They extend this lead 26-0 at half and walk away 3-0 on the season. The Junction Eagles traveled to Longhorn Stadium over and early to face a former district opponent in their first meeting since 1997. The Eagles entered this game 2-0 on the season and look to continue adding to that win column, and Junction walks away continuing that win, now 3-0 on the season. When we get back, we continue our coverage of high school football. Class 1A is up next when we return with some notable matchups of Concho Valley teams again facing off against one another. Don't go anywhere. This is Friday Night Football.
This is Friday Night Football on KLST, brought to you by Randall Motors.
Welcome back in. We transition to six-man ball, and our first matchup is a pair of Concho Valley teams playing host to each other. Bront playing host to Very Best tonight out at Stevenson Field. Very Best and Bront meeting for their third straight year. Very Best drawing blood and never looking back in this one. Junior Bryce Martin takes it into the end zone, 8-0 Falcons. Later on, Bront's quarterback Cole Knight rushing to his left, getting tackled past the 20-yard line. Longhorns are marching now. A few plays later, this time Knight waltzes into the end zone. Point after try is no good, so it's 8-6 Very Best at this point, and that would be the Longhorns' lone score tonight. Very Best adds more on this touchdown here. Once again, it's Bryce Martin having himself a night. The score is now 22-6 in favor of the Falcons. Very Best shuts down Bront for the remainder of this one, cruising to a 52-6 road win. Erie County tonight traveled to take on the Midland Holy Cross Crusaders. These two teams met tonight for the first time ever, a habit that's happened tonight. The Hornets entering 0-2, the Crusaders 2-0. Someone tonight is adding a 1 to that 0 column in some fashion, and Erie County completes the comeback, getting their first win of the season. Robert Lee traveled to Ira tonight to take on the Bulldogs in a series that the Steers once had control over at 5-2-1, but have not won the last three. Both teams enter this game 1-1 on the season, and the Steers fall to the Bulldogs 44-38. Out for Water Valley, it wasn't a plane, it wasn't a bird, it was a flying wildcat that kicked off this game. Water Valley played host this week to the Panther Creek Panthers, a matchup that hasn't happened since 07. Straight into the action, Water Valley gets on the board first with this handoff outside to Boston Weiss. Water Valley up 8-0 after the two-point conversion. The Wildcats a few drives later with another handoff to set up the would-be score. The next play, Braylon Naylor punches in to go up 2. A few drives later, the Panthers' running game is stuffed, and the defense is what takes over for the Wildcats. Gunnar Brooks is going to jump this next play and take it back for 6. Wildcats go up 22-0 before half, and they would close out the victory over the Panther Creek Panthers. The Eden Bulldogs played host tonight to the Lametta Hornets, who control this overall series at 14-8, winning the last two. Lametta also enters this game 1-0 on the year. Eden enters at 1-1, and the Bulldogs are going to fall to 1-2 on the season, losing 42-12. Menard traveled to Mullen for a battle of the dogs. This matchup sees these two teams face off for their first time in school history. I told you that's a trend. Menard 0-0-1, looking for that first win of the season. Mullen is 1-1, looking to prevent that, but the lead would prove to be too much as Menard gets its first win of the year. The Blackwell Hornets played host tonight to the Roby Lions, a first-time meeting since 1932. Yes, 1932. Roby enters the week 1-1 on the season. Blackwell 0-2, looking for that first win. And at last check, we had the final score at 34-32. And our final game, the Gustine Tigers traveling to Paint Rock. This game was canceled due to a threat originating from a neighborhood county. When we return, another look at the latest Dr. Pepper trivia question from this past week. We also look at this past week's headlines and a look ahead at some of Week 4's matchups. Don't go anywhere. This is Friday Night Football.
This is Friday Night Football on KLST, brought to you by Randall Motors.
Welcome back into Friday Night Football. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these upcoming games in Week 4. Central plays host to Belton Tigers in Week 4. A third straight meeting for these two teams, split in the overall record. Central also coming off their first win tonight. Lakeview travels to Lubbock in Week 4 to take on the Westerners in a Thursday night matchup. This series is tied at 6 wins apiece for both these two teams. Lakeview also coming off their first win. A pair of Concho Valley teams meet in Week 4 with Junction traveling to Mason to take on the Punchers. This matchup has happened every year for the last 25. The Punchers winning each of the last 17. And our last matchup features the 9-ranked Wallhawks facing the Monaghan Lobos. This series is split each. That's going to do it for us tonight over here at over for Friday Night Football. Don't forget to visit the Concho Valley homepage for any extra news, information. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.
Catering for Friday Night Football is provided by Chick-fil-A. Friday Night Football on KLST. Brought to you by Randall Motors.